Hello guys, we're just going to do a quick video to cover the new Earth 2 video. Resin, Oz and Luke, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
G'day, I'm Resin, megacity founder in Malta. That's me.
I am AussiOne. I am the Earth 2 detective on Discord.
Yes.
I'm Luke. I run Tech Circus. We run loads of events, including Enter the Metaverse, which is a really popular event for the Metaverse community.
Yeah, I did ask them to keep that quite brief because if you're in the Earth 2 community, you probably know us all already. So we're just going to crack on. I'm going to get to the first, it's not really questions, but kind of discussion points. So what was everybody's kind of standout moment or favorite part of the Earth 2 video? For me, it was the scale of megacities that kind of caught us quite off guard. I wasn't quite ready for that. Oz, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I would say the very first standout moment was I like seeing the buggy driving around. That happened almost at 7 minutes. It was good to see something that looked like it wasn't a purchase asset, like I believe the original one got some guff for. But then, yeah, right at 12 minutes when it did the big city reveal, the mega city reveal, that's where I wish I was recording my face, because that was pretty amazing.
Did any of you guys do recorded reactions or anything? No. What about you? What about you, Luke? What was your standout moments?
I really like the interiors and seeing inside the buildings. I wasn't expecting that at this stage, and it was a bit of a surprise to see the interiors of different ecosystem buildings and showing the office and the other parts. That was, for me, like a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, even all the collectibles inside them and stuff, like the amount of detail and things that were in there, they must have been going a million miles an hour. You can see all the hours that Shane claims to have been working. He definitely has been, and the team as well. Been doing good. Well, right, Resin, what was your standout point, mate?
Mine was the same as Luke's, and I think on the same page as everyone else. We definitely got a lot more than what we expected. I was thinking the fly arounds, some ecosystem buildings all tied together with some droids, but not that avatar running inside of a building and all of this showcasing. That just blew me away.
Agreed. I think if anything, they should have maybe started with some of the city stuff or internal stuff at the start of the video, because at the start I was like, oh, is this just going to be kind of another flyover video? And I think if you're not really hardcore into Earth 2, a lot of people might have switched off before we got to the really juicy stuff. So I think they could have maybe stuck some of that at the start, and that would have been good. But other than that, it was fantastic. So this is quite a big one, and it's one that's just been all over Twitter. Ready Player Me. What do you guys think of that? Luke, I'm gonna go to you, because I think you might know the guys there just because of what you commented on my tweet. So do you want to tell us a little bit about them and if you have a connection there or anything?
Yeah, so we know Stan, and Stan is the head of European global business, I think, and he spoke at the same Enter the Metaverse as Shane did.
That makes sense.
I reckon, and I might be wrong, that he reached out to Shane after that event and did a deal with him. But yeah, Ready Player Me had £72 million in funding. They're an avatar company. They're exceptionally great. I think it's a really good choice for Earth 2 to go with them as a plugin or a partner for this. And one of the points I wanted to make was, Earth 2 could spend 12 months building their own avatars, but by that point, they're probably as good as, Ready Player Me. Where essentially, you're looking at 72 million pounds worth of funding. It's not something that Earth 2 should be wasting their money on. So I think they've got a really good deal working with them.
Yeah, you make a good point. Do you know what other projects are working with Ready Player Me as well? Is there any other big names there or not?
There is, yeah. So Sonium Space, VR chat is the biggest thing on Oculus. Yeah. So they do a lot of great, partnerships. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's that they have more than 30,000 avatars or something that they've created. There was thousands of partnerships. I think it's 3,000 partnerships that they have in total. So it's not just with metaverse spaces. It's also with corporate brands and stuff that wanted to create their avatars in certain metaverses. So it's an interesting there's some other stuff about that I wanted to say, but I don't want to take everyone's time up.
Okay, we'll definitely come back to it. Do you guys have any opinions or anything on Ready Player Me? What do you think about it?
I mean, I had a question for Luke, if he
Okay,
seems
yeah.
to know some inside information, or at least some additional information than what I know. Is, do you have any idea if Ready Player Me has talked about changing or providing some additional styles of avatars? You know, more realistic, more cartoony, maybe cell shaded. You know, some different looks. Right now, it's kind of realistic, kind of cartoony. It's right in the middle there. But I'm curious if you know if they're gonna change that up or provide some more options.
It's a great question. So to answer it really quickly, is Ready Player Me's finance revenue model is on people buying digital fashion on the avatars, and they take a percentage of each piece of fashion that you buy. So that's how they make their money. It's free to install Ready Player Me, I believe. I'm not sure about big corporate ones with E2, but they would essentially, when E2 starts partnering with brands and they want to create different fashion icons of items, and lots of, different wearable assets, digital assets, then they would take a percentage of it. So I think it's purposely like restricted with X amount. And then as it grows, that means that other brands can partner in, and that's how they make their money.
So in the video where they were showing some assets like watches and necklaces and stuff like that, do you know if those were Ready Player Me partner assets or anything like that?
They would have to be, because in order to, for their finance revenue model, the way that it works is that you'd have to go through Ready Player Me in order to put it's a bit almost like Shopify or something. You have a plugin where it's the Ready Player Me will take a percentile of each asset that's purchased. They probably have some demo ones, which they use in the video, I'd imagine, but that will be what it is in the future, is when you're trading assets, you'll be able to buy different, I don't know, maybe there's Nike or Adidas or some of the luxury good brands that are partnering, and Ready Player Me will facilitate those digital wearables on their avatars.
Now, I also noticed some like Sidroids and some other E2 specific assets, that were hovering around. Do you think those would likely go through Ready Player Me? Like E2 would deliver that model to Ready Player Me to provide as an asset that could be purchased?
Possibly. There is something that I've noticed, which I think is really interesting. It's actually not the droids, but the interiors. So the interiors look like suspiciously familiar, and I was talking to somebody about this, and essentially a bit like Ready Player Me, there's another platform which is called Spatial, and it partners with Ready Player Me as well. So if you have a little look at them, so they do a creator toolkit which is powered by Unity. To create interiors, very much like Ready Player Me, where you can create your own interiors for inside of buildings and whatnot. And if you go on their website and have a look, it does look suspiciously familiar to what I saw in the video. So maybe not, but I'd imagine that Earth 2 are partnering with lots of different types of metaverse interoperable plugins where people can create virtual environments, digital wearable assets and whatnot. And it's normal when you think about big websites. A lot of them have intercom chatbots. They have discuss comments on all the newspaper websites, Shopify for commerce, Stripe for payments, all of these type of things. So in the metaverse, you also have these incredible plugins which you can use in different ones. And I believe that the interiors are going to be done by a third-party supplier as well, which is why they've been able to get them up so quickly. Probably why me and Resin were so surprised that they were up so quickly, and how they managed to develop all those interiors so beautifully, so quickly within a 2-year period. I reckon that they're probably using a similar company to Ready Player Me and probably Spatial.
Yeah. During that part, did you guys notice the note where it says that these assets were not created by E2? So in the lower right corner at 1320, it says that those assets weren't created by E2, and that in the future, E2 would consider allowing players to upload their own 3D models to basically put furniture in their buildings.
Okay, so
Makes sense.
what assets what asset was that note next to? Was it just all the stuff that was inside, or something in particular?
It was just in the lower right-hand corner at 1320.
Okay.
Into the video, and I believe a little bit before 1320 and a little bit after. It was probably 5-second clip.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was just when they were walking through the apartment for an Earth 2 user. Basically, it was the apartment walkthrough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I imagine it's spatial, and if you have a look at them online, you'll be able to see all of the environments that you can make, and you can plug into metaverses. And I imagine it's the same as Ready Player Me, and they're partly Ready Player Me as well, which again is a bit coincidental for my liking. I'm kind of linking the two together at the moment.
It would make sense after you said that. I'll try to remember to put the link below in the video for you guys watching, because I'll want to check it out myself. Resin, do you want to add anything about the avatars Ready Player Me?
Yes, I do. So I went onto the website not long after, and there was a couple of things that piqued my interest. So you notice a lot of the NFT projects, which are avatars, profile pictures, that sort of thing. And Ready Player Me mentioned the interoperability between these and having that avatar, and that made me think of Sandbox, where when you play, you can use an NFT and that gives you an avatar. So my assumption is that Ready Player Me will do a lot of that, and then that kind of piqued my interest with, you know, what can groups inside of Earth 2 actually do to create some sort of, you know, an example would be, and I hate to say it, Dorkslayer have their own profile picture NFT, so they could potentially go to Ready Player Me and get that set up as an avatar, and then they've got their own avatar. You know, things like that are not entirely impossible in the short term, and I think some people might start thinking about that, but I don't think anyone is yet.
So when you see it comes from an avatar, like, is it a model that gets certain traits to start with, then you customize it, or is it just one set model for that NFT for a set? Then what?
It could be both. I think the traits you could purchase separately, so you could create your own traits, obviously accessories like you see in the video, and then also a full-blown avatar, which would be based on the image that you would get with that NFT, for example. I think that's probably the direction they're going.
Okay, yeah. So can you see them going for non-humanoid stuff as well, if it's kind of NFT based?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you know, it could be anything really. That's what it says in the video. Anything is impossible until it is done. So
yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. Right. Does anybody else have anything to add about avatars before we move on to the next point?
No, all good.
No. Well, next up we have megacities. So I was just like in awe when I saw that megacity. I was just like proper envisioning how Shun City will be built and stuff, and I just want to get stuck into starting to build it now. What kind of impact did it have for you guys? Did it make you think I want to get more involved in megacities, or did it make you think I want to run away and want to be by myself over here somewhere or something? What was your opinion on that? Resin, I'll get you to start first on this one.
My first thought was, holy crap, I don't have enough essence or either to do any of this sort of stuff.
It's a fair point.
That's my first thought, and then I'm like, yeah, ever since the video, my mind's so blown. You know the GIF where the guy's doing the equation in his head and he's like, that's me right now.
So how much essence and stuff are you holding? Do you genuinely think you might not actually have enough?
Pacey, I don't want to talk about it, man. Okay.
Have you been blowing it all on joules or something?
Yeah, I've been blowing it.
Yeah. Luke, what about yourself? Your opinion on megacities after seeing that?
Yeah, I always thought that megacities and capital cities were going to be really popular within the game, and I think this will create a shift towards people buying in those areas once again. I kind of looked at that lonely, isolated camp in the mountains, and it made me think, oh, I don't really want to be there. It looked cool, you know, and the buggy going down it and whatnot down the mountain looked cool, but it did definitely make me shift my focus to wanting to be in more built-up areas with lots of players around me. So I think it's good news for megacities, good news for capital cities, high footfall areas, and I jumped on the market straight after and started buying in those types of areas as well.
I grabbed a plot in Pisa, which was in Italy, which was featured in the video. I was like, I need to go get the waterfront that was there, so I grabbed a little 4-tile plot because it was expensive. I think it was like $3 a tile or something. So I spent about a tenner just on the 4 tiles. Oz, though, what about yourself? What was your opinion on megacities from that?
I was really excited. The megacity that they put in the video was much larger than, well, I expected in the video, but also when they were discussing in some of the previous vlogs about the ability to change the look of your buildings, like the color styles and things like that, I was trying to think, how would you stand out as a player in a megacity like that if you've got one plot amongst many? And I think that's going to be key is, you know, if you're the set of buildings that's all red shiny buildings, right? People will know within that megacity where to go find your stuff as a user. So I think that's a good call by Earth-2's part as far as having the flexible shaders
that's a very good point, actually,
on the buildings. Also, I'd like to see that there was some sloped lots there, so it showed how they're handling a slope with the roads. Basically will go down the slope, but the buildings themselves pretty much look like they take the midpoint of the slope and then they put a retaining wall up and flatten that specific building out. Looks pretty good. And then the water, it was interesting to see, you know, the man-made lake areas with the boats floating around.
Oh, do you think that was a man-made lake? I just took that as
it was squared off. I mean, it was like
can't build on.
No, I mean, it was squared off. There was like a bridge put over the top, and I mean, it wasn't a natural, you know, lake border to it. It was a very boxy.
But if it
lake,
was water that is from an existing city, it could have already been unusual. So yeah, that's a very good point, though. I didn't even consider that we might be able to just plonk some water out, but I would like that, though.
Yeah, it looked like there was some green spaces too that were purposely put in there. So yeah, I mean, that was all nice touches that I didn't necessarily expect them to have worked out yet. So yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, for the green spaces, I thought that might be just, you know, how we've got megacities where some of the tile owners have just vanished off the face of the earth and they don't even have mentors and stuff. I thought those green spaces might have just been ones that the players have vanished and not came back to, and then it's just kind of their land for people to use and whatnot. It's being left to go wild, kind of thing.
I also have a little bit of criticism from a couple things that I saw. You know, I like to be fair and look at both sides of this. I would say one thing that I started to dislike in video games quite some time ago, I believe the first games I remember it in is like Need for Speed games, where they would overuse the cool, like, reflective road look. And so that, I mean, it's neat to see things reflect off the road, but I'm not trying to go street racing on wet pavement. Like, that's not, like, so it just makes it look like it's freshly rained. And I don't think they need to do that. Like, I think if they're going to have weather effects and it is going to rain, sure, make the road shiny, but don't have it just be shiny because it looks neat.
I saw June making similar comments making similar comments on the Avatar. He was saying it was far too shiny and stuff. So maybe they might have some lighting fixes to do there. But if it's the Avatar, sorry, go on.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There's also a night scene where, let's see, where's it at? At 1620, it shows one of the man-made lakes and the boats floating on the water, and the water it doesn't move at all. It is just static, shiny surface, no ripples, and with the boat moving, that's fine. I'm fine with the no ripples, but you got to have a little bit of movement to the water at least.
I think that's probably the sort of stuff that'll come over time, though, won't it?
I agree. It's early. But yeah, I just wanted to point it out. So if Shane watches this, you know, the players are noticing.
Whenever I see it, Oz has got an eye for detail. This is exactly the sort of stuff I mean. He literally notices everything. Proper detective.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. Water is one of the favorite elements in games when it's done right for me to see, because it's the hardest thing to reproduce, that and like particle effects and fire and things like that. So if you're gonna do it and you know you want it to look pretty, like the sunsets and the hills and some of the other things, you gotta put the extra effort in those elements of it. Like, I want to see a river flowing, I want to see a waterfall
Yes.
They showed El Capitan, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm pretty sure that's like a sheer cliff in real life,
Okay.
but it had like a slope to it in the video. So I do think, at least for some of the world famous locations that are supposed to be sheer cliff walls, E2 probably needs to go in there and make them real cliffs, not just heavy slopes.
The things that people are going to go find and be like, this is not right, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense. You'd think, like, because it's all based on like terrain map data, isn't it? So you'd think the existing stuff they'd be using for that would be kind of accurate for being a cliff anyway.
I mean, when I believe like Google Earth and other platforms use that. I don't know if it has to do with the angle that the satellite is taking the topography at, that it has a hard time with, straight up cliffs, because maybe it's seeing it at an angle, so it's providing a shadow more or less of the LiDAR. I don't know the reasoning, but I would imagine that's just how their data is coming in, and then they've got something going over the top and making these larger points a little more automated as far as the terrain. But
so would you assume it's definitely kind of accidental and maybe not something they might have done on purpose to ensure all of them could be built on? Because if it was a sheer cliff, it could end up being that.
No, I mean, that they could have done it on purpose. I hope that, especially for the well-known places, that they figure out how to still make something buildable. Like, I'm sure they could draw the cliff lines on the edge of a tile or something like that. So either have a building right on the upper edge or right on at the bottom of it, on the next tile, and there's nothing buildable in that tiny little line between the tiles. I don't know, but that could raise some difficulty to building things right on that cliff edge.
To be honest, I'd rather have the true to life accuracy than the ability to build everywhere anyway. If we have to sacrifice a few places where you can't build, I'd be more than happy with that. Yeah,
if on a cliff edge you lose a tile or two across there, that's probably fine. I mean, that's part of the green spaces and stuff that I mean, E2 will need to look into that, I think, but I hope they spend a little bit of effort in the future on those parts. And it doesn't have to be now, maybe that's version 2, whatever. But eventually I would like to see that. Yeah, agreed. Maybe they'll bring a reporting feature in where we can kind of give evidence if it should be like this or something, kind of in a similar way. Yeah, that's what I want. Like, let some of us fly around Earth 2 in the beta form, and I'll point out all of those things for them. They don't have to spend any man hours. I can imagine you literally just making massive lists of it as well. Oh, yeah. Right, does anybody have anything to add to this point before we move on again?
I've got something to add in general, which I'm not sure if it hit anybody or it has hit anybody yet, but Earth 2 is basically the size of the game is 196.9 million square meters, which makes it 500,000 times the largest map ever made in any game. Okay. Which I believe was Just Cause 3 in 2015, which was 390 square miles. And I'm kind of like hesitant on like how they're going to make that happen, what server size they're going to have to be able to create 196.9 million square meters of land. And going to the point before, in order, it's such a large project, how are they going to make it so realistic to Earth? How are they going to make every cliff and everything so ultra realistic? So that's one of the things that I'm kind of like thinking in my head, and I wonder whether they're going to use some decentralized technology, maybe something like shared server space between multiple computers using the blockchain. I know Golem does something like that, and I remember when we did Enter the Metaverse, they had RP1 that were using sharding in order to be able to create bigger server stages where lots of people can go on. So there is technology out there. And I think they're on the right tracks of it, but I just wonder whether they have that technology already to be able to actually host this 196 million square meter land. As I said, it's 500,000 times X, the largest map ever made in a game. So it's quite a big ask.
I'm sure they did mention a partnership that was incoming, or there was something briefly mentioned about something to do with the servers and scaling or something. I think it might have been a tweet or something that Shane touched up on Discord or something. But recently, over the last few weeks, I'm sure they announced that they had a partner that was working on that side of things for them, just for the server side of things. But yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was. Do either of you guys remember what that was? Or am I just making that up?
I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah.
I don't think any names were mentioned.
No,
but
it wasn't any names.
I think it was talking about the networking element of it.
Yeah, the pure size of this is the most ambitious project in gaming history, for sure. It must be. I'm not a game design expert. There might be some really simple solutions to this stuff, but and you know, maybe other games that you've seen have done it streaming and doing it through the cloud and whatnot. But it's the one thing that I've always wondered is how they're going to be able to make this cope with a server size of that. And bear in mind, when Decentraland first launched, the whole thing crashed on the first day because the server couldn't hack a small map with people in it. So there's a bit of historical stuff there as well about other metaverses launching and it not quite working out for them. So that would be my main concern, but I'm also really excited about that at the same time, because if they do pull it off, which they seem to be able to do, and they seem to know what they're doing, it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Well, I've thought about that a little bit too. That's a great point. Is how they're going to be able to pull that off on such a massive scale. One of the, and I don't know a lot about this stuff, so this is me just throwing out there what goes through my head on how they might handle this. Is when they zoom into an area, that's when you can see like grass starts to show up and some of the extra detail in the trees and things like that. I could see that. You know, there's one server where everyone is out at the far zoomed out level, right? So they can see the globe at not super high detail. But then when they're zooming into an area, that's when they're hopping into an instance of a server is local to the area that they're zooming into. And they basically do it something like that. So as you spin the world or whatever and go to a different part of the world, you're hopping into another instance of the server that's meant to handle that section of the world.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean,
I'm sure there's some technical know-how behind it, but I just thought it was also really interesting realizing that it was 500,000 times larger map size. However, that's just crazy what they're trying to achieve. So I think, if they do pull it off, wow, it's going to be pretty special.
That's awesome. It will be a task. Just touching up on what you were saying, Oz, they have mentioned that they've got two different engines as well. Anyway, haven't they? The close-up engine and the distance engine. So that would play in well to what you were just saying. Yeah, I can imagine that actually they're doing that. Yeah. It would still be. It would be about so the only thing that I'm not sure how they would handle is hopping servers if you're taking a buggy and technically driving across a line or whatever into the next server area. But then again, I don't know. I feel like someone's got the tech to at least hop from one server to an adjacent server fairly easily. But again, I don't know. That's not my area of expertise. So I'm 100% speculating on, my imagination is saying they can do that. Yeah, might be something for the next Q&A of Pushy in. Because it'd have to be kind of.
Yeah, you need to get an interview with him.
I've asked him like 100 times.
I'll help you. I'll help you hound him down and get him in a room.
Yeah, that sounds a bit naughty. Right. Does anybody else have anything that I don't ask before I move on again? No? Right. This is a bit of an odd one. I'm not sure if it's like somebody's just gone a bit strange with the text or if there's an extra riddle put in, but did anybody else notice the strange capitalization on the words that were coming up on the screen? I was watching that. I was like, what's that there for? But anybody, any ideas or theories on that?
Just emphasizing those words, I think.
Really? Because there was some odd words capitalized.
I'll put it like this. We do a lot of events on this, and UX writing is a really big subject. You need to get a UX writer. I know how to put the words together. It's a really underrated skill, and I personally thought the text was a bit amateurish in the way that they did it. The video was so great, but yeah, you want to be investing in a UX writer or a copywriter that can like put together not only the capitalization of the words, but the way that it was reading. And average age of a person in the UK for reading is 9 years old. So you got to kind of think about how you can make it inclusive to everybody as well. A lot of people have neurodiverse dyslexia and whatnot, and you want to like colors, another one, was it visible and whatnot. Anyway, these are all like deeply technical things that product designers look into, and I do think Earth 2 in the future probably should invest more in their UX and UI writing and all of that kind of stuff. UX, UI, there's a lot of things there, but it's a big company thing to do. Not expected for startups to do that at this stage.
That's a very good point. Yeah, because I was literally a bit distracted by it. I was too busy thinking, is that something I'm meant to be working out, or am I meant to be reading the capitals of each word and I was getting distracted, concentrating on that rather than what was going on in the video. So yeah, if there was somebody who was going over that and thinking what impact is it going to have on people and stuff like that, I can see why that would be a good thing. So yeah, well said, Luke. Has anybody else got any thoughts or opinions on that?
It's kind of along those lines. I would like to see them release a tightened up version, a much more condensed, shorter version, give us just all of the candy and less of the time that it takes to get from one point in the mountains to another. Cut that stuff out, show us all the new stuff. It might make it more palatable for the general public.
I was going to say, you need to make it TikTokable.
Yes,
so that it can literally fit into someone's mind span. Like for me, I just can't focus on really long videos for too long. Being a real fan of Earth 2, I'll sit there and watch the whole half an hour thing and go through every detail, but I shared that on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I'm not sure some of the people on there have got half an hour to figure out what Earth 2 is. I think they need it probably put into a 2-minute video.
I might have to do that myself then. I might see if I can do a kind of quick edit of it. Yeah. Right, but next, this is a pretty big one. Portals. Right. I've saw a few different ideas on this. I think some people are just kind of thinking the EPLs. Some people are thinking we can have tiles that are bigger on the inside than the outside. But I personally think it's kind of links to external apps and games and stuff. Basically, using Earth 2 as a web-free version of a web browser. What do you guys think about that? Portals, access, and other things. Where we saw going to drone. Resin, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, so my image in my head of portals is, okay, you drop in Earth 2, you can go to games, you can go to other metaverse spaces, you could even have anything really. I think that's kind of the point, is that portals are, okay, this is the gateway to anything that's outside of Earth 2's scope.
Yes. Yeah.
But the real focus for that video was not so much on the detail, not on the gameplay or anything like that. It was kind of highlighting their steps to, okay, how are we going to make this the metaverse and have that interconnecting with everyone else. I think Shane spoke about that quite a lot, and starting at games, I think that's probably the key point with drone, and then other people putting their own games in there, so then they can go out, do their business, bit of social, whatever, and they go, okay, let's go play a game, for example. That's my thought on it. Like, it's just trying to open it up to limitless possibilities. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, completely. Oz, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, the way I think of the portals is almost like using the Steam app for launching games. Yeah. It's an app, and I don't see why they couldn't also make it able to launch like Unreal games. I don't think it needs to be Unity only.
I agree.
But I just see it as a game portal in a visual way to take an avatar. Maybe you were up on the roof dancing with some friends or whatever, like in the video, and then you guys decide you want to go play some drone. You run down to the bottom of the building, you all run through that portal, and now you're in a drone game, and maybe everyone that runs in that portal within the amount of time, they're all in the same game, right? They're playing that game at that time together. That's how I see it, and that's how I would like to see it introduced into the platform, is that it's literally a launching pad for any game similar to the games or even the exact games that are available on Steam, but just through a different avenue.
Like that. And yourself, Luke, have you got anything to add on there?
Might not be. I like to be positive about Earth 2, and I love what they're doing, but sometimes I feel like people put things in that don't solve a problem, and I'm not sure if jumping through a portal solves a problem to go to a game when you can click on a game or you can upload a game onto a PlayStation.
Okay.
So I think it's quite cool and quirky in that sense, but I'd prefer to see sort of games within Earth 2 itself utilizing the terrain system, and I would like to have seen like drone in the mountains and that kind of stuff. So sometimes, there's an old story about the horsey horse. So when the car was invented, someone put a horse head on the front of it because they wanted to make it feel more like a horse. Because people were like scared of the change and they thought that the horse would, make it a better car. You don't necessarily need to always do everything the way it's been done. You can, change things in different ways. And I just think sometimes in Web3 in particular, people create things that aren't necessary. But let's see with the portals. I mean, it might be, would you, want to run around the world to then go jump in a portal to get into a game, or would you prefer to switch on the game? That's the question I was asking.
I kind of picture it like, how we go to Firefox or Chrome or something now, and we go to the URL of where we want to go. I kind of envision what they're doing with portals as the Web3 version of that. Instead of going to a browser to open that game, you go to a portal. You wouldn't necessarily have to physically travel to that portal. I kind of think you might just say the name of the portal you want to go to or something, and it'll take you through that. I think the visual representation is just a part of that for there. I imagine it's going to be quite a big part. Yeah.
I don't want to be too critical about it, but I've had this conversation over and over as an events person. They say, why don't you create your events in Decentraland and in all of these places? So somebody can walk around as an avatar to watch a screen. Why wouldn't you just go on YouTube? It just doesn't really solve any problems. It creates another layer and actually like a worse viewing experience. I suppose there's good things about being able to, walk around as an avatar and talk to people, but you can also just chat to people in a chat room. And nowadays with event platforms, they have really advanced like networking where you can search people really quickly, like have really quick chats, like a bit like Slack. And so sometimes with Web3, I'm like, is it really necessary? And portals is a question mark. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. Maybe there's something I'm missing here, but like, do people need to run around Earth 2 to jump in a portal to play a game? Maybe. Depends how quickly someone can get from A to Z, I suppose, maybe. But that's sorry, me being a little bit critical about it, but I think it's a cool idea, a cool concept. Maybe there's a use case for it.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I think just adding on that, Luke, I think it might tie into that discovery piece that Shane's talking about. So for people who are curious and want to go, what's this game? I might play this. I think that's where it sort of ties into having a physical portal and not necessarily just like a quick link sort of thing. I think that's probably what they're going for, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, an interesting stat as well is that Roblox has 40 million games within it. So you can imagine how many games there could be, and maybe these portals act as gateways to millions and millions of user-created games and different aspects. So I think it'd be quite cool in some ways. Maybe I'm being overcritical, but I always just analyze things and look at it and go, is it good usability? Is that a good journey that the user's going on, and is it useful, quick, and easy for a user to understand? And if it is, then great. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Too early to tell. I'll have to see how the platform looks, but I hope they don't start creating things just for the sake of creating things. That's the trap that people fall into in Web3. I've seen it over and over again with Web3 platforms where they create something that's just not solving a problem. And so let's hope it does solve some sort of problem, or it creates some kind of fun interactive element towards the metaverse.
Okay. Shane, if you do watch this, just give us a little tweet about portals or something so we'll know what the hell's going on. Right. Next, I'm going to move on to collectibles and merchandise. We've kind of briefly covered this when we've been going over avatars, but this is one I'm super curious about. What do you guys think is going to happen if, like, because Shane's all about player customization and player creations and stuff like that, and we saw shops where you can walk in them in that, and there was like dollar prices and stuff where there was the playing card, sorry, the collectible cards and whatnot. Do you think we're going to be able to kind of have like a clothing line or a set of NFTs and stuff like that, or do you think it's all going to kind of be big third-party businesses that are doing that sort of stuff, or just Earth 2? Luke, I'll take this one to you first.
Well, the creator economy is the most key thing to the success of Earth 2, so I really hope it doesn't go down big business routes.
Okay.
I've been to some opening parties, not going to say who, to some of the biggest metaverses out there, and all they talk about is corporate entities, and it's boring. It's boring. It's not user-centric. They seem to think working with HSBC is going to draw people to the metaverse. It won't. Would you go to HSBC in the metaverse? Probably not. There's some celebrity stuff, but that for me is a fad and a bit tacky. I think user created content is the most important thing. And going back to my Roblox statement, like if you actually look at the amount of users there are in Decentraland and Sandbox and Crypto Voxels and Sonium Space and those types, there's quite a small, I mean, I can list them out if it makes sense, but like Sonium Space has like concurrent users of about 16 people at peak.
Okay, yeah.
Decentraland has about 2,500. Sandbox got a monthly active user base of 30,000 at the moment. Decentraland's got 300,000, so I can only imagine they haven't even listed their concurrent users, probably in the hundreds. But then if you look at Roblox and Minecraft and things that kids play on mostly, they have 5.7 million concurrent users at peak time. And I believe they've got 164 million monthly users. And a statistic was 3 out of 4 children in the United States between 9 and 12 playing Roblox. So like Roblox is where the metaverse is at the moment. And if you look at the amount, as I said, there's 40 million games within it. There's 9.5 million developers developing on Roblox at the moment. And they really need to make it, content creative. And if it don't, I don't think it will succeed. That's being really harsh about it, but I think it won't work. So I'm hoping everybody here will create a shop. Everybody will create their own assets. Everyone will be able to create their own interiors and sell to each other. I think that's the key to success with these metaverses. That's why Roblox and Minecraft and why Fortnite have just literally like weeks ago created a creator mode, so people can create their own lands and create their own stuff. If it's the devs only, you're going to end up with your 2,500 concurrent users. Like the other Web3 metaverses, some of those do have user-generated content as well, but I really think they need to go hard on that. That's what's going to make the Earth 2 really successful. And then, of course, partners can jump in as well. And if you look at Nike on Roblox, they've made 180 million pounds in sales so far since they've launched. So big partners can go in there with the big brands selling their branded, user digital assets. But I really think it's the users that need to create that stuff, and that's what will create a lot of people going on there and using the platform.
I completely agree with that. My daughter plays Roblox and she goes into all these different worlds. There'll be a pet one and there'll be a gold pot one, and it's insane the amount of people that are around. She'll walk into one and there'll literally just be like hundreds of people in this one spot, and she'll move over there and there'll be another 100 people, and you can tell it's like user generated content because some of it's not even that good, and there's still that many users in it. It's just insane. So I get what you mean there.
All of the agencies that work with metaverses, and they say that Web3 is where they do their PR.
Okay.
And the decentralized games where you got those sort of 9 to 12-year-olds or 9 to 16-year-olds playing are the ones where they make their money, and that's where 90% of their income comes from. Roblox and Roblox basically at the moment is the main one. Zepeto is another one in South Korea. They have 300 million users, and they started with digital avatars like Ready Player Me, but they also do their own lands. And there's some really big metaverses out there, but they tend to be directed towards children at the moment. And Earth 2 is probably the first one that I've seen that's similar, that's directed at adults who want to be creative. Hopefully that's the route they go down.
Sounds good. Do you know if Ready Player Me offers player customization for like shirts and stuff in there? Like if we were using their, well, we are using their avatars in Earth 2, would we be able to add our line of merchandise that could be worn by those avatars?
I'm not entirely sure, to be completely frank, and I'm not sure how much say that they actually get in it. It might be that there's a plugin that Earth 2 have that allows people from Earth 2 to be able to generate user content on the avatars, but then Ready Player Me takes a percentage of it because it's on their system. So I imagine there's all sorts of APIs and whatnot that connect into these things and allow users to do it. But it's probably highly technical and depends on the sort of development team that they've got at Earth 2 to pull it off.
Yeah, because they would have to build the tools for us to be able to use to do that. Resin and Oz, do you guys have any opinions or anything you want to add on merchandise or collectibles or anything?
Yeah, I think when you look at Earth 2 and how the hollow buildings market has gone, for example, I think that there is some potential there if you have a similar sort of setup in a way to create things. Anyone can make a hollow building, anyone can sell a hollow building. You have your higher end users who are creating stuff like Builder June, for example, hundreds of dollars just for a hollow building. And that's without any utility aside from storage space, just the aesthetic. So I think if you take that as an example with our current user base, and then you have this influx of new users and we're all creating stuff, I think that has a potential to grow. But yeah, at this point, with what we have now, it's not much. We're not going to get that much sales from it, but yeah, obviously they have to deliver on the gameplay side of things and everything else that they're talking about that they're going to deliver, and then we can go, yep, okay, now we can start creating and selling things. It kind of has to reach that point for it to be worthwhile. Yeah, I think hollow buildings is probably the perfect example of where Earth 2 will sit up with that.
What about yourself, Oz?
Yeah, I am. I'm personally excited about the opportunity for them to open up me being able to upload or create my own 3D models. That's some of what I do for my my personal life also. So that I would thoroughly enjoy being able to do that, make a little bit of extra essence or jewels or whatever in doing that, especially since I enjoy it, so I don't need to make a ton of money. And another thing I'm curious about is the ability to offer services as opposed to just goods. So if someone needs some Photoshop done or wants to purchase or even some photography, right? I'm a photographer as a hobby. So I might want to sell some photos or offer a service to take photos for someone if they've got a specific subject that they'd like, or if someone wants me to model a 3D model for them, on the 3D item side of things, I would like to be able to offer that service also. So I'm not sure I remember much about providing services in there, but I would like E2 to allow that.
Do you remember Walker, who used to do F2 videos? Any of you guys remember Walker? He actually started a website that was for F2 services that was all about modeling and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, he just vanished off the face of the earth and the website no longer exists. So he was definitely thinking down the same sort of route as you, but I think he was trying to do it externally. So yeah, are you kind of hoping that they offer the option for contracted services within F2 itself then?
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
There was something in the video about interior design. You can do interior design for others or something.
Okay.
I saw that too.
Yeah, and that got me excited because I thought that's going to be a whole new economy within that. Some people will be too busy to do their own interior design, and being able to get somebody to come in and create your buildings and whatnot, I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I think a good point Resin touched on a few minutes ago as well is all of us are talking about how we're going to monetize and lines we can put out and shops we can build and stuff like that. I think it's kind of important to remember that the majority of this that are here now are here because we enjoy the building of things, we enjoy creating metaverse, we enjoy the game development side of things and stuff, but we do need to reach kind of the point where we're getting an influx of users who are just here to be here for the enjoyment, things that they want to play, things that they don't mind spending money on as a pastime rather than coming as something that makes some money from. So we do need to get to that sort of point before we're kind of, before we'll see people doing a load of those collectibles and stuff, because we need the consumer base there. So do you guys have any thoughts on that, when it's going to come, or how far we are from it, or anything? Anybody?
I mean, one of the points that I made in the previous interview was that I feel there's certain countries where if there's a possibility to make an income from anything in Earth 2, you're going to see tens of millions of players coming in from the Philippines and from India and certain areas where the average wage be about $150 a month. And if they can create amazing, interiors and maybe, looting or farming, you'll see it. And you saw on Axie Infinity, there was people contracted out to do that. I actually employed a few VAs from the Philippines, and their CVs had Axie Infinity on it.
Brilliant.
When Axie Infinity dropped off, they had to go and look for real work again because there wasn't enough money in Axie Infinity to survive. So it's a real thing. There's a lot of people in the world, and there's a lot of we're very privileged in the West to have what we have in terms of the financials to be able to invest in this and to play on it. But I think there's a lot of people out there that will benefit from a globalized metaverse where they can come in and create services and create things for people and charge them for it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, when Ozzy said modeling, I keep picturing him walking down the catwalk. I'm sorry. I just had to add that. That was funny.
Yeah, I can't lie, it was the first thing that popped into my head as well. I was thinking like modeling for a photographer or something.
I hopped straight from photography straight into 3D modeling without saying that.
Yeah.
That's all good though. Nice mental image for us all. Right, next we're going to move on to some little bits that have been added by the community. There's not too many, but there's a few. First up, we have kind of a statement from Earth2 Explorer, and he is saying, I'm curious how users feel about possible delays for dual slotting aspect of raiding. Good for new users with small collections, bad for dual sellers waiting for a time to unload the extras. So do you guys have, Oz, I know you're into duals, do you have any opinion on that?
I'm not super worried about it because I don't sell anything that I buy in Earth2. Like I'm not working the market or anything like that. I'm just trying to buy jewels when I think there's a good price to be had, and buy property the same way. And yeah, right now I'm just collecting, and everything that I own, it's, I don't know, it's like near and dear to my heart or something. It's really hard for me to actually want to sell anything. It's like I remember when I bought that land, or jewels less so. Like I could get rid of some jewels if I needed to, but generally nothing that has taken essence to create. So I'll sell a few commons here and there, or some cracked T3s, but anything that I have spent essence on or someone else has, those stay in my inventory. So yeah, I'm not really thinking about those aspects at the moment.
So does the potential delay of slotting droids bother you or not?
Yeah, I want everything right now. I want all the features. I want everything we saw in the video. So yes, any delay of any kind, I wish that wouldn't be the case, obviously, but I also think it's really important to try to release functioning new parts to the website. And if they need to postpone that so that the part they do release actually works well, I think that's the right thing to do. Because there are still some areas on the website, like the marketplace and other things, that have needed filters and whatever for the past 2 years. And that those things still need to happen too. Yeah, that's my stance on it.
Good point. Anybody else want to add to that, or have we covered it? No, we're good. Right, next up is Viking, and he is saying, I would love to know what everyone's thoughts are on this new phase we're going into, the new video, and how that will migrate into the next photorealistic metaverse phase. Basically, I think he's saying he's wondering how what we've seen in this video will eventually become the more realistic version of Earth 2, because I know this is E2 V1. How do you guys see that progressing? Resin, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, look, I really just don't think that it's possible yet. That's all it is. There's the technology is just not there to do it. And like Luke was saying before, this is one of the largest. And when you think about that and go, is it possible to have this photorealistic world on such a large scale, just running smoothly, seamlessly? Like it, to me, the technology is just not there. So does it matter whether we have it now? Not really, because it's not possible. But they'll work their way towards it, and I think a lot of the other metaverse spaces will work towards that as well. I had this weird thought just earlier about Sandbox, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's like Minecraft, and yeah, that appeals to young kids, but they might reach a point one day where they go, you know what, we're going to switch it up a bit, and we're going to turn the dial on how much detail we put into this, and you just don't know when that's going to happen.
Good point. I agree with that. I think we're going to get it in gradual stages, and we'll kind of see. It'll probably be that gradual and little bits at a time that we won't even notice it's kind of advancing. I don't think we'll get one version, then a few years later it'll just be replaced by another. I think we'll just see gradual elements improve and change and stuff. Yeah. Did Luke always want to add to that?
Yeah, it really frustrates me when people talk about the graphics. Just have a look at Roblox. Go on it. It's blocks. Go on Minecraft. Have a look at it. It's blocks.
Yeah.
Sandbox. It's blocks. Decentraland looks like a cartoon. This is already way better than anything else that I've seen, especially something that seems to be able to be created by players. I've not seen anything that looks as good as this yet. It's not going to be Red Dead Redemption or whatever. It's just unrealistic. So like, it is what it is. It isn't supposed to be a shoot 'em up game. It's supposed to be a creative economy where people can go and create things and socialize and whatnot. I'm sure Droid's graphics would be fantastic once you jump through the portal, but I think the graphics of Earth 2 is already like head and shoulders above any other metaverse. Sonium Space is like really good, but as I said, they've got like 16 concurrent users at the moment, because you have to have virtual reality to use it, so not many people own an Oculus and can go onto it. So I think this is, it always frustrates me when people are expecting this higher level of detail in the graphics. It's not going to happen for a while. It doesn't need to happen. We're not here for the graphics, but the graphics are far better than any other metaverse that I've seen. So I think it's a good starting point.
Yeah, very well said. Oz, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, the way that I see it is, I'm perfectly happy with the graphics that if we get the graphics that they were showing in the video the other day, and we had those for the next 2 or 3 years while they develop the ecosim and all of the elements and just improve the gameplay and the user experience over those 3 years. I think part of the thing that will help is 3-4 years from now or something, I could see Unity having a competitive tech to Nanite and Lumen, right? The Unreal 5 features that kind of change the game there. I don't see Unity just sitting on their butt and not trying to do some similar tech. So by the time those assets are available for E2's development staff to use and incorporate, that's probably going to be something that we see in E2 V2.
Yeah. So as the tech progresses, we can use it.
Yeah.
The graphics are going to, it says all over the thing, like it says this is the first version, it's going to improve. The first version is bloody good. So I think people should stop. I think they should stop expecting anything too high and be happy with where we are at the moment. What I saw was absolutely amazing for what it is for a metaverse that is adaptable and owned and created by the players. It's really cool.
Yeah, I was very happy with what was on the video as well. I certainly had no complaints in terms of graphics or anything. But we're going to move on to Spectrum, and he is asked, well, he is saying, we know playhousing and shops and museums is possible. Any insight or ideas? What other virtual opportunities we can expect? We've kind of briefly covered this one actually, but has anybody got anything to add on to that? Basically, kind of what virtual opportunities are going to be there. So we're kind of how we covered businesses and interior design and stuff earlier. I think he's just kind of touching more up on that. Anybody want to go over that one?
I can follow up on. I think that people will end up. If you ever want to follow the trends, have a look at Second Life. Second Life have already got all of the trends. They're already mapped out. There's already loads of players playing on Second Life and have been for the past 20 years, I think. So there's trends such as, like, I think you'll be able to buy and sell tattoos. I think you'll have virtual pets. I think you'll have you'll be able to rent out beach houses to people, and people will buy houses and retail that's really nicely designed by an interior designer and someone that's architected it. But if you have a look at Second Life, you'll see all of the trends. There's actually like a bit like EPLs. It's got a whole list of different things, and I reckon, and I know the guy that did it for Decentraland, gambling will be a big thing. I think there'll be all sorts of casinos and board games and roulette and all that kind of stuff. So people seem to love that in the metaverse. Universities and schools and education seems to be quite a big thing. Okay. But yeah, again, just looking, there'll be corporate opportunities where people create, their own lands. But the buying and selling of digital assets and the creator economy, I think, will be the main driver.
Yeah. Anybody want to add to that? Or?
Yeah, I've got a couple of experiences I would like to see personally that I think wouldn't be too tough for E2 to incorporate. One of them, in the VR sort of experience, I've always wanted to know what it was like to fly like a bird, around beautiful landscape like that. So I could see the avatar just being essentially able to fly around, put their wings out and fly wherever they want around the globe. That would be pretty easy for them to do, I think, as soon as they have VR incorporated. So I'd like to see that as an experience, and then also racing in the air, on the land, and on the water. I think incorporating racing using the vehicles that they've got in E2, the ability to upgrade those vehicles, that would be really fun in my opinion. And one thing I wish I didn't miss, the AMA with Shane on Twitch, because I wanted to ask him if there's plan for the droids to basically gain experience and level up at all, or to be able to actually upgrade those droids, or even droids within the same class having unique characteristics, being slightly better or within a range, kind of like how jewels, right? You might have a common jewel, but they're within a range of how much extra they will boost a resource. I'm curious about some of those things. But I would like to see that. I would like to see some of those early purchase droids that are used often getting some sort of benefit for being used in the platform, and leveling up or increasing their stats.
Resin, do you have anything to add to that?
Look, as I said before, it's really dependent on the user base and what they want. Nothing's impossible. The more that people push for things, the likelier that they're going to get that feature or something. So I think with holo building, I know there was a lot of large voices around the marketplace that they developed, and they really pushed, and E2 spent a lot of time on that. So whatever the users and the players want, and the louder the voice is, they're probably going to get more of that. So I mean, if 1 million people say the same thing as Aussie, and they say, hey, I want to fly around like a bird, I want to be Superman, I'm assuming that's where you're going with that, Aussie. Yeah, we're likely to get that feature more than something else. So yeah, I think if people rally their players in their specific groups, like say for example, if I get my small little community in Malta and we go, yep, you know what, we want jousting.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it. So I think that's where we're going with it.
Is that what we want? We want jousting.
Yeah, jousting. Yeah, why not?
I like jousting and sword fighting. I
want some horsies.
There's one thing that's fairly obvious that I think is going to happen with Earth 2, and Shane's implemented it since it started, is these hunts, these Easter egg hunts.
Yeah.
And when you have such a huge land, as I said, and 196 million square foot of land, you can imagine how cool the hunts are going to be. And I really hope that they put like some essence in the forests and some jewels and some, you know, scavenger hunt type things, and you just get thousands of players searching the earth to try and find these hidden gems and Easter eggs and stuff that are hidden around. If they do that, I think you'll get a lot of players coming outside in to come in. Everybody likes a freebie and a hunt. So I think that could be a really big part of Earth 2's future if there's some sort of thing. And it's kind of Pokemon Go style, you know, when you used to go around hunting for the Pokemon. I could just really imagine that kicking off and being a huge part of Earth 2 in the future.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's something I would absolutely love to see as well. Yeah, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. Right, I'm going to move on to another question though, because I know we've been going a while now, so I'll just get through the last few. This is a question for all of us. Well, you three anyway. Has your game style changed since watching the video? E2v1 is emphasized that the virtual world and less about E1. Tell us your pros and cons in making virtual experiences and how the E2v1 landscape might look in 1 year after launch. That's kind of like multiple questions. I'll get rid of the end bit. Basically, has your game style or play style changed since you've watched the video? Luke, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so mine has. I thought when I saw the gameplay, I'd be wanting to buy mountains and like strange terrain, but it had the opposite effect because I saw the cities. And I think that I'm now really focused on like built up areas with lots of players around it, whether it be capital cities or mega cities, and anything outside of that, I'm looking for resources. I'm searching for resources because it's farmland to be able to build the cities. And that's really I actually thought it would be the opposite, and I saved some money in my account purposely for after the video to spend, because I was thinking, how will it impact me? And I'm glad I didn't, you know, go crazy on buying mountains, because I saw that isolated settlement and don't think that's where it's going to be. I think it's going to be I'll have settlements with farms on them in those types of places, but I've got a feeling that it will be the mega cities and the capital cities where all the action is, where there's lots of other players side by side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oz, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, very similar. I did not spend any money yet on more city areas, but I definitely went through my portfolio and re-looked at, you know, how much do I have in densely packed cities versus, you know, the farmlands, the mountaintops, the cliff edges, or, you know, the pretty areas. And I'm leaning a little bit more towards the city environment and being closer to dense packed active user areas as a preference after the video.
Okay, yeah. Resin, yourself?
I don't think mine's necessarily changed. I think you know sort of what I'm about, focusing on governance and building megacity. So look, my only thought process is, how do I get more money to spend on building? That's, you know, obviously not from other people, but, you know, thinking ahead about, okay, what is there something that we can provide some sort of solution to a problem, maybe inside or outside of Earth 2, where I can go, you know what, this is going to go towards building, because that was my first thought, is they go, oh, we need essence ether, all this stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really worried about how much it's all going to cost.
Is that because most of your multi-land is T2 as well? Because I have the same issue for Human City with that.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, upgrading plays into that, and then I'm thinking, okay, there's a lot of stuff that I want to merge as well. Is there going to be a cost with that? I don't know. But more so the buildings themselves. Trying to think, how much is that going to cost all together? trying to get people engaged as well within that small community that I got. Yeah, just trying to think about all the different costs that is going to come with being a mega city founder. I think a lot of other guys, you probably think the same as well, Pacey. What are you going to do around costs and things like that to build it up? Yeah.
I've kind of set a lot of my essence to a side. Like, I've told myself I'm not taking that out, and that is what is going to go towards building kind of the social parts of Herein City. If I can add the extra roads and maybe the library or meeting space and stuff like that one, I'll build those up. And then when I start seeing what other people are doing in my city, I'll concentrate my efforts and my essence and my funds in that area to kind of help them out do it. And I just basically, I can't see myself doing everything at once. I'll see what is happening and I'll concentrate my resources on that area and help that build, if that makes sense. But what are you thinking in terms of funding it, as you were saying? Like, have you got any ideas of what sort of services or stuff you would do and how you would go about funding your city build?
Well, I think I'm probably going to have to start an OnlyFans, to be honest. Nah, I haven't quite got that far yet. It's still, the cog's still ticking after yesterday, so I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to kind of come down to getting the communities involved as well, because like, no matter how many tiles we own in our megacities, the players own like 100 times more than us combined. So as long as we have good people around us that are building good things for people to use and things we can interact with and things that attract people, it's kind of it's not going to all be down to us, is it? We'll have those collaborators there. Right, next we're on to Moby. I'm interested in Luke's take on whether he thinks this video will bring interest from the corporate world, advertising partnerships or other. So Luke, that one's straight to you.
Said in the previous interview, corporate world are interested in general in the metaverse. They have a PR budget which they put into these things. They don't care about return of investment. They just like to put it in so it gets into the newspapers and say that they're in the metaverse. Bigger partners, as I said, Nike is the #1 company at the moment that's getting return of investment from Roblox. And I think they will be eyeing it up. We do our events and we have all these people coming to them and exploring what's going on, and it just isn't much out there that's good. You've got the Sandbox that speak at every event, and they have every partner there is under the sun. And then Decentraland have got queues of people queuing up to partner with them. But other than that, what is there? So I think that when there's a realistic user base, what big companies do is they follow users, and if there's a lot of users on Earth too, then they will be putting a lot of money into it. But I think at first, probably from a PR perspective, and later as a return of investment. So if you look at like Roblox and the amount of users they have, it's like so much more than the Web3 metaverses, and Nike has really heavily invested in it. So it's and like any market. The more eyes you get in front of, the more people will pay. But there's an abundance of partners that want PR, that want to show that they're innovative, it's cool, and quirky companies that are leading the charge in the Web3 and the metaverse world, and they won't have any problems finding partners. It's just like, from my perspective, it's more of a case of, will the partners have any use to us? Do we become that sellout brand that the other metaverses tend to go down that route where they have loads of partners but no users?
Are we going to find some partners and brands that are going to add value to the Earth 2 experience, kind of thing?
That's the biggest thing. And I think there's so much land in Earth 2 and there's so much player created content that it won't be too much of an issue. Whereas, not naming any names, but if you look at other metaverses, it is just a load of blocks of partners and there's no user created lands, and I feel that's dangerous.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about there. We've got a question about them coming up, actually. Luke, this is another one to you, and Moby is saying, Luke previously mentioned that E2 is an unknown name in the Web3 community. Is that anonymity gone now?
No one still knows about them. I don't think they will for some time. Look, the thing is that do they want to be known? And Shane's too busy building. He hasn't got time for going to conferences and taking selfies with people, you know, or being at DJ parties with Playboy bunnies. He's busy building the platform, and I respect him for that. I respect him a lot. And someone said once to me that if you should work hard in silence and then let the success make the noise. And I think with Earth 2, that's where it's going to go, and that's what Shane's plan is. He's not at conferences, and I've run the bloody conferences where people do this and they're all taking selfies together and putting it on Instagram and from there. So yeah, really respect that, like, Shane's just sat there building, and like a lot of people have questioned what he's been doing on YouTube and sort of criticized the project, but he hasn't made any noise about it, and he's remained in silence, continuously built. And now it's just really nice to show that I think it's like a bittersweet moment for him to come out and say, look, we have created all of this, whilst everybody else has been going around at conferences and other places, shilling their projects. We've built an actual massive metaverse and got a massive competitive advantage on everybody. So I'm really pleased for Shane and Earth too, that they're starting to hopefully get some rewards from it. Now, will they start going to conferences? I hope so, because if you look at Ready Player Me, that partnership possibly could have come from Enter the Metaverse. I'm pretty sure it did, because I'm not sure how Ready Player Me would have found out about Earth 2 in another way. It's not very well publicized anywhere else. And there's just so many other partnerships that they could create. And so more than anything, just working with other brands and working with different e-commerce platforms and different plugins for the metaverse. That's my hope. But I hope also that they don't go to every single conference in the world doing the world tour. They need to go to a couple of the big ones, and and make sure that they're in front of the right people.
That makes sense. Speaking of Shane kind of sitting there and just cracking on with the work and doing that, did you guys watch the Twitch stream of the YouTube video, or did you just watch it direct on YouTube? Because that was proper emotion. That was.
I went after, so I saw your Discord message saying go hop on Twitch, and I got in like right at the last like 30 seconds or something. But I waited about half an hour and then went back and watched the entire video that became available. So yeah, I did see that was pretty touching. It
was intense. You literally just feel the raw emotion coming from Shane. It was proper touching. You could tell his heart and soul had gone into it, and it was pretty much his life. And I saw that he tweeted today saying he'd actually got a full 8 hours sleep. So I think he's kind of found a bit of peace that now that we've seen what he's actually been working on behind the scenes and stuff, he feels like he can rest a bit easy now and stuff, and it's nice to see.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to add anything to that, or should we move on to the actual last question?
Yeah, Pacey, I did watch that stream and I cried like a baby. I mean, when you get into this tunnel vision and you absolutely obsess over something and you are fanatical about it, you're in every nook and cranny. To see that it's not just gonna be something that won't be around anymore, and people always say, Earth 2 is gonna fail and it's a scam and all this sort of stuff, and you believe that it's not gonna be what everyone is saying, and then they deliver and give you the proof, and you see someone who basically works day and night and doesn't get any sleep and just pours their everything into something. It's pretty emotional. Does that make me a lesser person for crying? No, I don't think it does.
No, doesn't it?
No, I think a lot of people got very emotional about it, and they're the sort of people that I want to work with and that I want to be friends with, and because they're passionate about it as well. So I cried like a baby.
Is there a way to watch that stream? Is it available on record?
It's if you go onto the F2 Twitch, there's just like a tab that says videos underneath there, and there's 2 in there. There's one from the Q&A that he did, and then there's the live streaming of the YouTube video as well. Both of them.
And he dances too.
He does. He dances for most of the video to the music that's on it. It's brilliant.
I was gonna say I really appreciated that, because you could tell right before he got up to dance that he was like trying to talk himself into standing up, But he eventually pushes, the chair back and starts dancing to the music, and starts having a good time.
It was a
his
vibe.
dogs showed up and did
was.
some dancing with him. That was pretty nice to see.
was
But yeah,
literally-
no, I really enjoyed that.
It was for the entire length of the video. He was dancing as well. He was up and down on time.
Yeah.
When he agreed to do it, and at the 750s, I was expecting him to do like 10-second dance, but it was literally like, just put a boogie in it like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was like 15-20 minutes of dancing.
But I think I'm actually going to skip the last question because it's kind of, we've just ended on a pretty touching kind of subject and stuff there, and the next one's kind of a bit of nothingness. It's a slight dig out of a project from somebody that asked the question. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I think we've kind of ended on a nice place here. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Do any of you have anything you want to talk about or touch upon before we go?
No, thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for coming, all of us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Pacey.
My pleasure. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Oz. Thank you, Resin. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.